Hi, my name is Paul Sargent. Welcome once again to AP Euro Bit by Bit, the series in which I'm trying to break down modern European history into small bite-sized pieces so that you can better understand it. Today, though, we're going to take on a sad and very serious topic. We're going to answer the question, what was Hitler's final solution? So let's get started. Now, we've talked in Bit by Bit before about the history of anti-Semitism in Europe, and really the story here has to begin with Hitler's publication of his autobiography Mein Kampf, in which he really categorized all of his vision of Germany as a struggle, a social Darwinian struggle for survival between Aryans and Jews. And the idea that he had was that one was going to win at the expense of the other. And it was his belief that Aryans, Germans, had to win by exterminating the Jewish race. Now, of course, those ideas of his, when published in Mein Kampf, were relatively obscure because he was a not so well-known, not so respected, and really not that feared leader of a failed uprising in Munich. So it wasn't, this huge thing, but of course, Mein Kampf would become sort of the defining document of the Nazi order that became so destructive. And when they came to power, they began to create concentration camps. These were initially designed for political prisoners. Now, the concentration camps were meant to bring together enemies of the state. Increasingly, there started to be signs that this included European Jews. And in the years after the Nazis came to power, they started to pass a series of laws which culminated in the Nuremberg Laws of 1935. Among all of these laws that were passed, Jews were excluded from public service, they were excluded from education, they were denied citizenship, they were denied marriage rights with Germans, and they were systematically defined as a separate race than the Aryan Germans. Jews, of course, were forced to wear the Star of David, and that would make it easy to identify who these people were, on penalty of death if they didn't wear it. Now, all of these laws made a real impact on the lives of German Jews. But the night of Kristallnacht is generally accepted as the beginning of what will become known as the Holocaust. After the assassination of a minor German official by a Jewish boy, there was a general declaration that the Jews should feel the wrath of the German people. On the night of Kristallnacht, or the night of broken glass, as it translates, Jewish businesses and synagogues were targeted, Jews were rounded up, and up to 30,000 of them were imprisoned and sent off to concentration camps. Now, the initial German policy was one of immigration. In other words, the Nazi Party encouraged Jews to leave the country, and many Jews who had the means to and who had the willingness to did leave the country. They went to places like Poland and Russia, Denmark, Sweden, France. They went to lots of the places, honestly, where Germany would end up taking over in the coming years, and their safety would disappear. Many of the fortunate ones who survived this and escaped this came to places like the United States and were able to avoid the entire situation, for the most part at least. Those Jews who were not able to or not willing to immigrate were placed into ghettos. This began after the invasion of Poland, and the most famous of these was the Ghetto in Warsaw, where all of the Jews of Warsaw and surrounding regions were put into a very small central area where they were cut off completely from the lives of the rest of the people. And there they lived in horrible conditions, underfed, overworked, and overcrowded. As the German troops moved further through Poland and eventually into Russia, there was a group that was formed called the Einsatzgruppen. This was sort of a subgroup created by the SS, which was going to be in charge of, well, They were basically mobile killing squads. They would follow in the wake of the German army. They would move into different villages. They would round up the Jews that were there. They would kill them. This was a somewhat effective way of doing things, and the Einsatzgruppen went at it very fanatically, ending up killing nearly 1 million Jews throughout Poland and Western Russia. But there was a morale issue that started to develop. The face-to-face killing over time started to really psychologically damage these members of this group. And the German leadership started to realize that they needed to have a different solution and a more efficient solution, I guess, in order to accomplish the goal of the extermination of the Jewish race. So they start to build even more concentration camps. And very specifically, they built 6 concentration camps which were going to be designed as death camps. These were going to be the tools, the mechanized way that the Nazi regime was going to eliminate Jews. In January of 1942, at the Wannsee Conference, the plans for the Holocaust, the final solution, were unveiled to high members of the Nazi Party. It would consist of these concentration or death camps. At these death camps, Jews were going to be stripped, their hair was going to be cut off, and they were going to be taken into a shower chamber in which the Nazis were going to release a gas called Zyklon B and kill everyone who was in there. The bodies were then taken to crematoria, burned, and the furnaces basically ran 24/7. Over the course of the next 3 years, somewhere between 3 and 4 million Jews were killed in these death camps. The sheer numbers are almost impossible to fathom. To put it in some sort of perspective, by the end of the war, nearly 90% of the Jewish population of Germany, Poland, and the Baltic states was eliminated. And overall, about 2/3 of the entire Jewish population of Europe suffered, died at the hands of the Nazis. So that's an overview of Hitler's final solution, his attempt to try and rid the world, at least Europe, of its Jewish population, and to win the social Darwinian struggle that he had defined in his autobiography, Mein Kampf. So anyway, I hope that clears things up about Hitler's final solution. Hopefully next time we'll have something that's a little less, well, horrific than we did this time. So until then, this is AP Euro Bit by Bit. My name's Paul Sargent. I really hope these videos are helping, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.